I'm primarily talking today about folks who experience the dynamics of being an adult child of an alcoholic, the ACOA or the ACA, and I'm hoping to be of help to them in dealing with this problem of control. However, there are lots of families who have produced dysfunctional families in which we grow up as adults and we have trouble with controlling others and controlling our life and over-controlling, and it really causes a real problem for us in our lives and for other people as well. Over my 35 years of helping people change as a family system expert and a professional working with ACOAs, I know that they face a difficult dilemma. This dilemma was faced growing up and continues into adulthood. And it is, if I relinquish my control over myself and others, things will get worse. And what happens is we just end up having trouble with struggling with over-control. Adult children of alcoholics grew up in a home in which they experienced a family which was both out of control and over-controlled. The alcoholic or addicted father or mother was often out of control. The codependent spouse was often over-controlling and trying to harness the chaos that addiction and alcoholism brings. Many families can experience this dynamic. Many dysfunctional families deal with this process, whether alcoholic or bipolar or hyper-religious or rageaholism, and many other types of family focuses. One parent is out of control and one parent tries to over-control to keep the disaster at bay. And then as children, when we grow up in those families, we end up with a real struggle of being caught between out of control and over control. And you can begin to see how this would affect us as adults. For alcoholics and severely dysfunctional families, life was often out of control. Insecurity, bad behavior, and poor communication often cause massive eruptions in reactivity and in acting out. As kids, we felt we could not control anything. We could not stop a parent from drinking too much. We could not stop a parent from many other addictions, workaholism, rageaholism, which plagued our families. We could not control our parents' worry. The over-controlling caregiver we could not control. We could not control our siblings who were often angry and might take that out on us, or we might take that out on them, what was going on in the family. And we could not control our family's unhappiness and its pain. And on top of all of this, we did not receive any healthy modeling for self-control. The models we were given were A, out of control, the addict or alcoholic, or B, the anxious over-control, which is the spouse or the codependent. So I guess what ACOAs tend to struggle with is either being out of control or over-controlling. While ACAs or ACOAs, adult children of alcoholics, can become addicts and alcoholics themselves, often they struggle more frequently with over-control, out of fear of things becoming out of control. And so adult children of alcoholics live their life in such a way in which they always fear things are going to get out of control. So I must control things. So how do we over-control? Well, we can over-control by worrying. Worrying is a state of over-control. If we over-worry about our children, which many parents do, that's a subtle form of control. A lack of vulnerability and intimacy. Caregiving comes out of over-control. Over-parenting our kids and even other adults. Trying to change others. Managing our image and what others think about us. Triangulating in relationships is over-controlling. Enmeshment is a form of over-control. If you don't sync up with me, then we can't be friends or in a relationship. So you gotta be me, the old, or I gotta be me is the old song from many years ago. I jokingly use you gotta be me as an example of enmeshment or fusion. If we aren't thinking exactly alike, then we can't be friends. And again, that's enmeshment. That's also, I have to control you by us being enmeshed. Emotional cutoffs are a form of control behavior. Non-acceptance, judgmentalism, criticizing, moralizing are all forms of controlling behavior. We often feel if we stop these behaviors, then things will get worse. That I must control myself and I must control everybody else so that things don't get bad. This is often proved to us in the short run. Let me give you an example. I need to control my husband's alcoholic behavior by driving him to the bar so he can drink and so he doesn't get a DUI. So I've got to control his addiction so we don't have worse problems happening. But I really don't like him drinking, and I know his drinking causes us lots of horrible problems. And I don't really want to control his life. So what I think I'll do is I'll just stop controlling him. So I stop controlling him. He gets his keys, he drives himself, and risks getting a DUI, or gets a DUI. And then what do we say as ACOAs? Well, see, I told you things would get worse if I stopped controlling. And that's the paradigm we use for trying to reduce our controlling. Same way with codependents. Codependents are over caregivers. They're overly focused on others and less focused on themselves. And they believe that if they start focusing on themselves, things will get out of control. People will misbehave or badly behave. People will be hurt or have problems if I don't take care of them or rescue them. And often we prove that to ourselves in very small ways. And so it just confirms that we need to keep the control going. Controlling angst or anxiety and controlling people only see the short run and do not see the larger picture. That's the video or the picture we saw growing up in our family. Controlling meets our needs also. I take care of others so I don't have to look at my issues that I don't want to look at. Feeling unworthy, or how badly I feel about myself. If I stop judging others, I will have to look at how miserable my life is, or my life feels. If I stop giving advice to everyone, then I will have to deal with how unimportant I feel. So oftentimes these controlling behaviors have a lack of self-differentiation and low self-esteem, shame, and guilt as the core of what's behind those controlling behaviors. Controlling behaviors help us to avoid looking at problems and issues we want to avoid within ourselves. Controlling keeps us safe and less anxious, we believe. Lastly, many try to stop controlling before they learn to deal with their anxiety, their fear, and fear of abandonment. Mark Smith has a couple of books and a number of books available on the internet, and you can buy them. One of them is on abandonment, which I would recommend, because if we don't deal with our fear of abandonment, our anxiety, and our fears, this will result in what I call recycling. We're just going to go back to old behavior again. We're going to try in a blustery way to try to stop controlling. I'm just going to let them go. I'm just not going to worry about them anymore. There. And then we find ourselves falling right back into the same rut. Out of our fear, our anxiety, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, shame, low self-esteem. When we don't deal with those things, it keeps our controlling behavior going. Dealing with family of origin issues, the fear of abandonment and rejection, and building self-differentiation is the key to stop controlling behaviors. What I do is provide professional coaching for learning to self-differentiate. And that's kind of an expert skill of mine, which I offer to you if it can be of help. Controlling behaviors keep problems in place so that they can never be solved.